We're here with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. And today we're talking about Metro Exodus. We got our hands on a review copy, so I spent quite some time with it now, and this is another Metro game in all of the best ways. This time, the way it goes down, the Metro characters venture out and spend some time in the surface world. And much has been made about the game making the jump to like a semi-open world. That's, you know, a big departure from what the other Metro games were going for. Can the game maintain an intense focus and stressful, scary situations like the previous games did? That's a big question. A lot of people were worried, but thankfully, yes. Metro Exodus is like a big bang and a scary campfire story all at once, and the balance is perfect. Because I was legit worried about the open world thing, and not every game needs to be changed to open world, but thankfully what Metro Exodus does is give you a couple of mini open sandbox worlds throughout the game for you to peruse through, and thankfully the game maintains the tight focus as it's still very much more of a linear, story-based game that doesn't forget the point of why people really like the games in the first place. I played it and captured this footage on PC running on high, by the way. There's no spoilers. I'm showing either the very opening sections or the middle sections of the game, but with no big story moments. Anyway, once again, you're Artyom, and after years of hoping there were other people out there, him, his wife, and a merry band board a train called the Aurora in the hopes of finding something out there. I'm keeping it really vague to avoid spoilers, but stuff happens along the way. Basically, the story is told over a period of time and various seasons, and I really like the concept of the whole train thing for two reasons. One, it keeps things moving. Seriously, it's good for pacing and setting variety, and two, it's a really smart evolution of the whole Metro thing where people live in the tunnels in cramped situations. Now you see how people live huddled into compartments in train cars, and it's pretty fascinating to watch unfold. This feels like one of the more action-packed of the Metro games. There's lots of large-scale shootouts, crazy new mutated creatures, explosions, and big scripted action sequences, but at the same time, the game still gives you plenty of quieter moments, which I thought the previous games really excelled in. You know, areas and certain sequences are just brimming with people to walk up to and dialogue to listen to, characters interacting with one another, random notes to find, and just stuff in the environments in general. Also, the game can still be scary and stressful and unnerving as hell, almost like survival horror-y at times when you're running out of ammo. As much as there are the open areas, there are also mini areas and sequences that act more like the traditional Metro experience. You know, tight hallways, crappy flashlight, and scary monsters, and I'm all about those. This game actually has one of the more spookier moments in the entire series. It was so memorable, and I can't recommend enough just playing the game with headphones for that reason. The audio-visual experience is legit here. The game looks pretty darn great. It's got some issues I'll get into in a bit, but on PC, the game looks great in the light and especially in the dark. This is in large part thanks to the variety of environments taking place over various seasons. You know, you get the harsh Russian winter, a bombed out dry ocean that has become a desert in the summer, and a more springish, lush forest area, and a couple little surprises in between. Each one is really damn incredible. I will say that the desert one is probably my least favorite, and I think it's because it's the largest and with a vehicle to drive around that controls kind of badly, and then there's Mad Max style bandits out there. It just feels like the least like a Metro game. Still, they did a good job making it feel consistent in context with the lore, but I just prefer the feel of the rest of the game over that whole sequence. So the way the open area sections actually work, you typically have a linear objective, but you're free to roam around and explore. At various points, you'll get intel and info on small sections that act as side objectives, usually like a hidden cave or a bandit hideout where you can sneak in and steal something. The amount you get from side stuff is varied. The game really doesn't pressure you to do anything unless you're in need of supplies, but you can get items that affect characters on your train, or items to upgrade Artyom's equipment. It's fulfilling enough, even if they just feel like random encounters, especially considering there isn't exactly like a list to check off of and really a sense of completion unless you find a good item. What the optional side stuff does do, and there's a lot of it, is make the game have somewhat of a Stalker vibe. Yes, the Stalker games. I was really happy when I started realizing that it almost felt like a spiritual successor here. Creeping around irradiated wastelands, hiding behind a melted car, waiting for monsters to run by so you can like sneak in a place and rummage for crafting equipment can make for great moments that are completely emergent and random in the world. Plus, there's a day and night cycle that you can take advantage of where at night, you know, say for example, you can more easily sneak into a bandit camp, but there might be special nighttime monsters that only come out that will make your life hell. Now, the game does still feel a little old in spots. The way the characters look, some bugs here and there, and the movement and contextual actions. I think it's part of the charm, though. Nothing is game-breaking at all. I've always just considered Metro games these like mid-tier, mid-budget, AA games. While this one is closest to the big time with all of its explosions and graphics, it's got the same vibe and feel from the atmosphere I said earlier to the way it actually controls and plays. And plus, you can craft on the fly now, too. Artyom has this cool backpack where you can swap out weapon attachments, make more med kits and filters and throwables. It's a pretty simple, satisfying system, and I really appreciate upgrading your stuff at workbenches, too. It's just a rewarding mechanic to, like, find a reinforced gas mask out there or a heavier bulletproof vest. It changes everything. The human encounters haven't really improved much, though. They somewhat bored me at times in Last Light, and in Exodus, it's kind of the same here. You know, simple stealth and then heavy shootouts with enemies hiding behind stuff. It can be somewhat challenging at times because you're weak, it's kind of realistic, but ultimately the AI is pretty dumb. Not distractingly dumb, but also just not compelling at all. I'm also not a big fan of the zombie-like creatures in open areas. I'm forgetting what they're called, but they just come off more of an annoyance after a while. But, you know, I will say I think some of the other more specialized creature encounters more than make up for them. There's just a lot of fun game here. Stuff to shoot with raw and satisfying gameplay, places to sneak, monsters to hide from, cobwebs to burn down in the dark, and stuff to rummage through. Every area is rife with opportunity and time to spend in it, so you'll be kept busy for a while. But most importantly, there are characters to listen to and a freaking really cool world to experience. I say, long live the Metro games. But of course, that's a before you buy. You know how this goes down by now. I gave you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. So now I definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. Of course, this video is being published a little bit before the game comes out, but I want to know what you're thinking. I know people probably have a lot to say about the fact that the PC version is exclusive to Epic. I expect a lot of you guys to vent your frustrations there. But maybe for console people, I'm curious to see what you guys think, what you expect from the game. Wherever you're going to play the game, we want to hear from you guys. And if you have any other questions or anything for me, be sure to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Jake Baldino as well. But if you enjoyed this video and maybe learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. We really appreciate it. And if you're new, you should subscribe and hit that notification bell because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Looks like that is all of them. I'm glad they didn't notice us. That was a large pack. Oh, is this why the zone is off limits? I mean, if all the packs here are like that.